And if any of you, when you get to your level 5, are looking for a high-performance leadership project, I'm actually looking for someone to take over the new member orientation for next year. So talk to me about that afterwards. It'd be a great project. Dale mentioned some other things that you might want to consider. But now we're going to move on to our final speaker of the evening, and that is Dr. Brandon Dean Beeman. He is a public speaker, author, and health wellness practitioner. He has a PhD in health education and promotion from UAB. He took a questionnaire to determine his preferred communication style through Toastmasters for his level 2 in visionary communication. His speech will focus on the history of his communication style, a subject that goes hand in hand with his authoring of the book, Discover Your Vertex, a beginner's guide to health and wellness. Here at Toastmasters, we walk a fine line. Toastmasters is for self-improvement, not self-promotion. But it's okay to let your fellow Toastmasters support you. This is a huge accomplishment. And that said, Dr. Brandon will have his book available for purchase after tonight's meeting, or you can find it online. This seemed like the perfect, and it's not going to happen all the time, so I don't want you to worry about this. This is a special thing. This seemed like the perfect meeting to offer the book, because Dr. Brandon's speech tonight is about communication. Please welcome Dr. Brandon Beeman with his speech titled, The Gentle-ish Man.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing well this evening. Thank you for that introduction. It was very much appreciated. And again, I will not make this a regular thing. Toastmasters has really got me on the hurdle to finally finish my work. And I'm going to talk about my history of communication style. And I injected a little bit of crude humor, which is going to go a little bit more into my communication style. Just going to push forward and talk about the type of friend I am, or was, and the type of colleague I learned to gradually be blunt. I wasn't always a very blunt and direct person. I was groomed to be that way because when I was a child, I was a little passive, so I learned to be a little blunt. And when I learned to be more blunt, I learned to be less passive. For better or worse. So, this is what some might have thought of me as I was coming up, as I was developing my bluntness. And I don't know if you remember Bill Godfrey. He did a comedy circle roast a few years ago. And this became a meme. It's one of my favorite memes. And being a college professor and an instructor and a science person, I'm going to get into the results of my communication style. And as you can see at the very top, I got 6 points for being direct. And I'm not going to read this entire slide. You can read it for yourself as I've brought it, just as I've done the last time. The style is very decisive, very blunt, very confident, straightforward, and very results-oriented. And secondly, analytical. Analytical, to be precise, to be exact, to the point. I'm a data person. I do everything by the numbers, which is why I really enjoy doing this questionnaire. And I began to look at myself, and I need to work on that antic. The supporter was a 1, and I got a 0 for initiating. That has got to be a Toastmasters record. And of course, I'm going to let you all read the supporter and initiating for yourselves. This is what I used to be coming up, but as I've gone through academics and as I've grown to be more blunt and more direct, it would be safe to assume that my points in being supportive and having a supportive and initiating communication style dwindled over the years. And after I got those results, this is what I thought of myself. Oh, I did not mean to end that. Okay, here we go. That's what I thought about myself after that assessment, because I thought about myself in childhood. I was the timid kid that was afraid to speak. Whenever someone asked me a question, I would always deflect and go around, talk about different things without really getting to the point, expressing how I feel. Which there's nothing wrong with that. But I would never get anything done, and I was a little people pleaser, which is why I've grown up. If you remember in my previous speeches, I grew up watching the anti-heroes and the villains. And I was like, I want to be more like those guys. And though I've never became an evil person or a villain, I might have tread a very interesting line. So, moving along. I've already discussed how I got there. Struggles with self-expression, admiring the rebel, but I wasn't bold enough to be it. It was something that my parents instilled in me. And once I got to college, it kind of backfired on them, because once I got into undergrad and started being more of a scientist, having a scientific mind, they were like, son, you're really going to have to soften the blow a little bit and not be so blunt and direct. I wasn't going around calling people names. I wasn't insulting or degrading people. But if someone presented work to me, at least in my early to mid-20s, if someone presented work to me, I would just stamp them and give it to them and say, do this better, without very much feedback. And that was my mentality coming up, because failure was not an option. Because again, I was the chubby kid that really didn't have very many victories, because I wasn't blunt and I wasn't direct and I wasn't as driven to pursue my goal, whether it be in academics, whether it be in health and wellness. So over the years, I've grown out of that, but I've gone into this moment. So, strict academic upbringing. This was my strongest suit. Like going through an academic institution like UAD and a researcher, I really had to develop the bureaucratic leadership role, which is something I talked about in my previous speech, which was ironically a weak area. And having a strict academic upbringing kind of grew me a little better to be a more bureaucratic person, even though I really don't like that style, because I was more democratic. I was a very direct democratic, but nonetheless, I had to strengthen my bureaucratic skill. Now, my objective, I put up a classic Bill Carter expressing my analytical style. If this is the passive, and this is the super extreme blunt bureaucratic, I'm probably about right here at age 34, and I'm looking to be right here in the perfect center, which brings up the areas of improvement that I would like to work on. I want to be a little more supportive, not necessarily soft, and I want to be serious, but not too serious. Hence, I put the give a God free, don't be an a-hole. Well, call myself a-hole. And to learn to build a team, which is why I'm here at Toastmasters International, to really network and better groom myself to get back to this middle point, to find balance. And as Ms. Piggy had discussed, this is my publication. Now, this publication has a combination of direct, analytical, supporting, and initiation. But despite me having this combination in this book, it's a beginner's guide. So I was very sure that being direct, making sure that you know what you need to know, but at the same time, kind of handhold you and ease your way into self-improvement. And in my case, I'm a beginner and becoming more of a supporting and initiating person, because I pretty much mastered being. So that's my presentation, and I'd like to offer